This is my absolute favorite story when it comes to coaching someone and creating transformational, just serious transformation and change in someone's life. So it's called the Sara story. Real simple. She came in to see me with physical problems first, and she basically said to me, you know what? It's not the way I'm sleeping. It's not my posture. It's not physical. I know that at the root of my problem is just my life. And so she opened up and basically explained to me that what was happening in her life is that she was in a situation where her husband was physically abusing her. And, it's such a tough thing, right? And I said to her that, you obviously have choices, And she's like, no, I don't have choices. I was like, yeah, you always have a choice. I mean, you can leave, you can call the police, you can file for divorce. And, just to be funny, and because I had a really good rapport with her, I said, you could kill him, technically. You've seen some movies. And we had a good laugh. And she said, no, you know what? The hardest part is that he's really good to my kids. He's a really good father. And I said, well, that makes it even tougher, So it looks like you only have one option left. And she's like, what's that? And I said, well, this should be the first option people consider, but oftentimes it's the last one they consider. And I like to call it option Z, the last option we consider. And I said to her that this option is about changing your outlook so that you can change your outcomes. Now, just bear with me. I know it's very controversial, what I'm saying. But let me just tell you that when she came in, she was not only suffering physically, she completely let her life go. So mentally, she was depressed. She was gaining weight. She was financially in a hole. Her social life was just gone. She wasn't really been able to connect with people and really enjoy the things that she loved in her life. And wait till you see what happened. After we did some coaching over a short period of time, I get a call from her husband. And he basically says to me, he's not the kind of guy, he's a big shot business guy and, slick talker. Not the kind of person that's just gonna come out and say thank you. But I know this is his way of doing it. And he called me up and he said, listen, I just wanna let you know that I have my wife back. And the only thing that comes to mind to do is to invite you to dinner, which is really tough. I went to dinner for Sara. And when I got there, it was incredible because when she first came into the office, like I said, physically she let herself go. The only thing that really stood out was her giant diamond ring. It was a rock. It was sparkling. And that was the only thing that was really sparkling. And when she opened the door and I went to see her, it's incredible that, I like to put it this way, it was the first time that she outshined her diamond ring. I even said to her, Sarah, you look taller. Is it possible? She said, look, you told me you can't live large if you play small. I'm wearing high heels. We had a good laugh. I had dinner with them, and when she went to serve up some more food, she was a great hostess. So was he, actually. He basically said to me, look, there's something I don't get. I can understand you said to her, change your outlook, change your outcomes, and you did change her outcomes. She went from someone who for 5 or 6 years couldn't complete her educational degree. She got her master's after, like I said, a long period of doing nothing. She opened her own business. She got fit. She started glowing again, as I mentioned, sparkling again. Her social life came back. She became physically fit. Just across the board, empowered across the board. And I think that when it comes to empowerment, there's really 3 areas. It's, you're empowering your relationship with yourself, your body, your mind, your voice, your communication, your spirit, if you will, and also your relationships with others, and then your relationship with the material world in terms of your business, your career, your finances. And she was empowered across the board. She really became an inspiring person that many of the people who would have given her a second chance at even a job or a collaboration would possibly be even a little bit intimidated by her. She became such an empowered person. And maybe intimidated is not the best word, but at least they would love to maybe work with her and collaborate on some inspiring project, a win-win project. Anyway, he said, so I get that you change your outlooks. When you change your outlook, you change your outcome as an individual. But what I don't get is, how did I stop hitting her? Because you didn't put a gun to my head and say, hey man, if you do this again, lights out. So, and she didn't confront me either. How did I all of a sudden just stop doing that? I don't get it. I said, this is the interesting part, is that when you empower yourself, you can't be treated like a victim. And if you are, you're going to be treated like a victim once. I mean, Oprah Winfrey has an inspiring story of being victimized, and then all of a sudden she became empowered. So you can't be empowered and a victim at the same time. Just like you can't be a victim and be an empowered person. So if you're playing, if the story's playing on in your life and you keep watering that story, you stay victimized. And when you empower yourself, you put the being a victim behind you, and you start to live an inspired life. And when you start to do that, people start to treat you differently because you're treating yourself differently. It's like the psychological concept of, a broken down car that people start to just write on it, throw things on it, paint it, and just damage it. So when you don't take care of yourself, you sometimes get, buried deeper. And when you start to value yourself and empower yourself, people start to treat you the way that you treat yourself. So it's just a really beautiful story. Again, ugly start, but a beautiful end to how someone can really turn their life around. And when I think of her, it's probably my greatest success story. And I don't think it's necessarily me. I think it's just working with her and helping her with certain key life principles. What we started with was a congruency test to make sure she was congruent between what she thought was important, her goals, and how she was actually living, functioning, performing as a person. And then we just started laying out what all the obstacles were and then overcoming one by one. I call these removing pebbles from your shoe. I remember when I first said that to a friend, I said, you know what? That's what it is in life, is we all want to achieve something great, but we have these pebbles in our shoes, small things. We don't have to give them this big, massive diagnosis necessarily, and sometimes you do, but in most cases, they're just common everyday things that when you remove that, when you give it that, when you realize there's a pebble in the shoe, and that almost every human being goes through these challenges in their own form or fashion. We all have that monster in our life. Sometimes it's ourself, as I mentioned. And when we overcome obstacle over obstacle, it's like we remove pebble after pebble, and only then can we take a quantum leap forward. I said to my friend, I'm going to write a book and say, remove your pebbles from the shoe and take this quantum leap forward in life. And he's like, don't do it. I'm like, why? He's like, because someone's already said that. And I said, who? And he said, Muhammad Ali. So I knew I was on the right track with my train of thought. And that's what I want to leave you with today is, you may have your own obstacles in your life, and you may want to run away, and sometimes that is the best thing. And sometimes you want to just play small and shrink in the face of obstacle. But oftentimes what we need to do is either take action or change perception, the inner game or the outer game. I always say do both. So yeah, change your mindset, change your outlook, change your outcomes, and of course take action, take inspired action every day, just baby steps, and before you know it, you don't shrink your obstacle. You don't cut the mountain that's at the knees and it shrinks and all of a sudden you become bigger. No, what you do is you leave the mountain where it is and you empower yourself and you grow as a person, because you really can't live large if you play small. So thanks.